Hello, this is the second video in my irrigation and square foot gardening. If you saw the first one, it showed you how to construct and put together the pieces for a drip irrigation system for a square foot garden. Now I've been using this for a few years, and the reason I did this was I thought drip irrigation would conserve water, put the water in at the roots where it would do the most good, and also have a controlled way of watering the garden. I wanted to show you some of the things I found out over the past several years using this system. Initially I used a drip hose, the kind that are made out of recycled rubber tires, and that worked okay for a while, but I found out that each hose that I bought, when one hose got damaged and I bought another one, they all dripped at various rates. They were not consistent. The other thing that happened is after a few years, the drip hoses, the drip hoses that were made out of recycled rubber became hard and stiff, and sometimes they broke. Also, they got clogged very easily, so you'd have to wash them out. So I converted over from the standard drip hoses that you buy at the big box stores to a drip irrigation, as I showed you in the last video. And this particular type has weep holes every foot, and each drip hole or emitter drips 1 gallon per hour. And you see I put additional ones in here. Before we get to how much water I'm putting on this garden, let's talk about how much you should be putting on here. The standard theory is that you use 1 to 1.5 inches of water per week on your lawn, and roughly the same on your vegetable garden or your flower gardens. So 1 to 1.5 inches. So I tried to determine how much that would be in gallons for a 4 foot by 4 foot square foot garden. And I did the math, and I multiplied 48 inches by 48 inches by 1 inch. And it came up with about 2,304 cubic inches of water. And I converted that to gallons, and it comes out to be about 10 gallons per week. 10 gallons is equal to 1 inch, and that's per week, give or take. So then I wanted to determine how much was I actually throwing on this garden, because I've noticed some things in my vegetables that may indicate I'm putting too much water on there. Some of the tomatoes, the bottoms were getting wet. There was some mold on some of the plants. So I calculated how many drippers I had here. And in these lines here, these 5 lines, I had 20. And then you see here I added some additional ones. And these additional ones are actually 2 gallons per hour. So if you add them all up, I had 40 gallons per hour that I was putting on here if I let it run for an hour. And I was letting it run for an hour every day. So 40 gallons an hour versus what I'm supposed to be putting on is 10 gallons a week seemed to be very excessive. So I cut it way back in the late summer, early fall, and the plants didn't seem to mind at all. But what I'm doing now is I'm going to let this run for an hour or so, and we'll see if we can determine how far it was spread out. Because originally I did this using the formula in Mel Bartholomew's book on square foot gardening, and I used his recipe. And I found that recipe had very good drainage, excellent drainage. And when I watered the square foot garden, the water went straight down and drained. This is about a foot deep of soil. It's actually a foot above ground. It's probably 6 inches below ground. So it's about 18 inches, not counting the settling at the top. So the water tended to go straight down. So what I did was I kept increasing the number of drippers to get it to spread out more. And that's kind of the reason I had so many drippers in here. Some of the other beds are very similar. They may not have 40, some of them have 30, but it's still a lot of water. So I'm going to let this run for an hour. We'll come back and we'll see if it's spread out. And then we'll see some alternatives of what I had in mind for the next stage of this. Okay? Okay, water's been on for an hour, so that's about 40 gallons of water I've put on this. And I'm going to try to determine how wet it is. Now you can see, I don't know if you can see, but around each emitter there's a circle of wetness right here. But in the middle, right here, it's still dry. It's still dry. And even with all the compost I've put on it over the years, it's moist. This particular square is moist in the center. This one's pretty moist. This one's a little bit moist, but not great. This one feels cool, but I think it's just because I'm going down. So some of them are okay, some of them are dry. Like this one here is pretty dry. So what does this mean? I figured out that I think what the problem is when I first put the plants in and they're young, and I put them in the center of each square, they don't get adequately watered because the root system doesn't spread out. So I end up watering them by hand. But in the midsummer, or after they've spread out, like the tomatoes, which go against the back edge there, their roots can come out to about here underground, at least a 1.5 feet, 2 feet, and they get watered. So this works okay for plants that have extended root systems in here, and they cross multiple squares. But I think when you originally put the plants in here, especially, for example, if you put radishes in here and seeds, you can't guarantee that it's going to get wet. So it depends on what kind of soil you have. This is really good soil over the years. As I said, I started out with the mix that Mel Bartholomew had in his book, and then I added compost to it. And this is where I ended up. So what I'm going to try now is this little gadget here. I found this at Home Depot, and they have them at Lowe's. And this is a shrub bubbler. And you can make a circle of about, I think it says 12 feet, but they have ones that go down to like 6 feet, and you can adjust it even lower than that. And it's adjustable 0 to 360 degrees. It also will come up higher, like that. And I'm going to try this with 10 gallons of water, which is what it's supposed to be. And I think that even when there are small plants in here and the roots haven't extended yet, this will give me a much more even watering. And actually use less water, because I'm not going to use 40 gallons every time I water this thing. I'm going to try to adhere to the 1 inch of water a week, which is about 10 gallons. So I'm going to try this. It's too bad this didn't work. I automatically thought drip irrigation would be better, but in this case, it just doesn't seem even to me. The watering doesn't seem even. So I'm going to try that out, see how it works, and I might make another video after I get the results. I'm going to put it in the center here, and I know it's going to, it's going to wet the plants more than this thing does, and hopefully it'll get around the plants. Like in this particular bed, I had corn, one corn stalk in each square. I don't think that'll be a problem. The advantage is too that if I put it in the middle, I don't have to dodge around these things for each square. These take up about 3/4 of an inch. So that's it. I'll try this, and then I'll post another video, see how this works. If somebody else has already done this, let me know how it works in the comments. And if you like this video, please press the like and subscribe to it.